Hi everybody, Bob Ticer, Police Chief here in our great town of Prescott Valley. It's awesome to be here with you today to have another edition of Chief's Chat. So today we're going to be talking about two things really. The first is the Police Academy. We're going to talk about our Police Academy up here in partnership with the Outby College, and then we're going to talk about how the training continues from the Police Academy into field training program. So as those viewers have seen before, we've talked about recruiting and getting people into the door here at our police department. Now, once we hire that person, that young man or woman, or older man or woman for that matter, there's no age other than you have to be 21 years of age or older to join the police department. What happens next? So we have two of Prescott Valley's finest here today, Officer Derek Rousseau and Sergeant Tony Lawrence. And so great to have you gentlemen.
Thank you.
Awesome to have you here. Derek, we're going to start with you because we're going to talk about once we hire that person to be a police officer for our community, we're going to turn them over to you. Mm-hmm. What happens there? What's that all about?
So when they show up, I call it day zero, but first thing you got to do at NARTA is a PT test. That's just your kind of entry ticket in the door. You make minimums, you're in. That's all you do the first day. You show up day one. There's a lot of the drill instructors getting involved. A lot of like your basics, your fundamentals. We start you off with like, this is your basic understanding of constitutional rights. This is your basic understanding of search and seizure. Get a little bit of defensive tactics in there to understand how to go hands-on with people, do it safely. Then you take, we break it up into modules now. It used to be a big final test at the end of the academy. It was a big stressful thing where you do 3 days worth of scenarios and then you do a big huge test. We've broken that up into smaller chunks. So it's module 1, 2, and 3 now. And the beginning of the day you do a big test. It's not as big of a test, it's only like 100 questions. You do some scenarios at the end of the day. You pass all that, you move on to the next step of the academy. So as you go, you get firearms training, you get driving training, you get more understanding of the defensive tactics and how to be safe while we do this job. And then by the end of the academy, you start with what we would call a solo officer, capable recruit going out onto the road. Awesome.
So you mentioned NARTA. Tell the viewers what NARTA is.
So NARTA is the Northern Arizona Regional Training Academy. Started back in 1996. Okay. And we've had a class once every 6 months since 1996. I went through class 41 with several other members of our department. And we're on class 56 now. So coming up will be class 57. And long history, very high quality education as far as how to become a police officer and do the job with respect to the people we serve. And we train all kinds of different agencies as well. So we have had Game and Fish, which is a state agency. We have tribal agencies, we have county, we have city, town agencies, even as small as Jerome. They had a Jerome recruit last class. But anyone that wants to be a law enforcement officer in the state of Arizona, if their agency wants to send them to our academy, then that's all that's required to go there.
So that's at Yavapai College. How long is it, and who teaches all the classes for the certification process for our new recruits?
So the whole academy is 21 weeks long.
21.
Yep, 21 weeks. And it encompasses all the aspects of, like I said, what we would need to train you to be a good officer to start out on FTO. And it's, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so who are the instructors? I mean, not personal names, but where do you get the instructors from to teach all these classes for 21 weeks?
So all the instructors come from different agencies. Yeah. We have every agency typically that has people in the academy will supply instructors. A lot of these instructors have done the job for a lot of years. We have people that do DUI instruction that they've done this job for a very long time, teaching DUIs, teaching crashes, teaching search and seizure especially. Our own Detective Machinsky comes out and teaches constitutional law. He's done that for a very long time. And it's something that we have a lot of people we pull from many different agencies to try and get the best possible instruction to the recruits that we have.
That's awesome. So it's multi-agency. You're developing a core of new colleagues from the very beginning, regardless of what the patch is on the shoulder.
Yes.
Everybody's getting the same training, and they become post-certified, Arizona post-certified, which is certification here in state to be a police officer once they graduate, correct?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. What's your role there? What's your
My
role?
job is a recruit training officer. It's a mentorship kind of a role. I'm a first-line supervisor for a squad of people that show up. Each RTO gets assigned a certain number of people from the academy that they're just trying to make sure all their needs are being met as they come through the academy, try and guide them through that process. Because it's a job that most people don't really have a whole lot of idea of what goes into it before we start going into like the constitutional law, the other training that's applicable to the new job. And there's a lot of things you see on TV that cops do, or they do in movies or TV shows, that they show up to the academy thinking that we do kind of the same thing, and then they have this reality check of like, oh, that's not really what I thought it was at all. So our job is to guide them through that process and make sure that we have a solid recruit that comes out to their agency that is going to, again, respect the rights of the people that they serve and do a high-quality job when they get there.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's awesome, and it's super awesome in our community here in Yavapai County that we have a partnership with Yavapai College where we have our own police academy right here, because there's other academies in the state we could send folks down to, Phoenix or Gilbert or Flagstaff or Tucson, all kinds of places, other places in the state that have the academy, but we're fortunate to have it right here with instructors from our own departments here, so it's great. And appreciate what you're doing, because when you go through a police academy, you mentioned drill instructor, and for those out there that just picture that one sergeant with the campaign hat on, keeping people in line in the academy. So there's a lot of structure and discipline that goes in the academy too, right? And stress that goes along with that, right?
Yes.
And I imagine you're helping guide those young recruits out, right?
Yes. Yeah, we kind of provide kind of a grounding influence on the recruits that we have. We have to provide some sort of stress when we start training these recruits when they come in, because we get on to the road and not everyone that we deal with is very nice. We have to be able to keep our wits about us when we're dealing with the public and be able to think under pressure and think under stress. So the first couple weeks of academy is that stress as best we can replicate it. Trying to get them to hit the ground running and be able to handle all the different situations that job might throw at them when they get out.
Yeah, it's great. Well, I appreciate that. And the academies keep getting longer too. By the looks of me, I've been around for a while. When I went through the police academy, it was 12 weeks long, and now it's 21 weeks long. That's an additional 9 weeks of information that society's putting on these recruits to be certified as a police officer. So the demands are growing greater and greater every year, every day. So you mentioned finishing up at the academy. Next is transition over to the police department, or back to the police department. That's why we have you here, Sergeant Lawrence. So what is your role in that transition from the graduation, which is a great day, graduation, the badge pinning, and the officers, does the training stop there?
Definitely no. For us, it's our beginning. Each officer will go back to their respective department at that point. And at that point, every department's a little bit different, but we use the San Jose model for our field training program. We have several field training officers. My role is I'm the field training sergeant, so I will oversee the actual department with a lieutenant above me. But what that basically entails is after they come back to us, we'll give them a nice family night. We'll invite their family out. We'll explain to them the field training process. Immediately after that, we will assign them field training officers. They'll go to their phase one. During the academy, a lot of it is book work. A lot of it is repetition and seeing the classroom. This is going to be their first avenue of seeing what real police work is like. They're going to get to go out on calls with officers. They're going to get to take phone traffic. So what the field training allows them to do is we slowly integrate them in from having zero responsibility on a call to having 100% responsibility. So for us, phase one, all we ask of them is them to be able to handle 25% of a call. Besides that, there are field training officers with them from start to finish. They'll help them work through every part of that call. And we'll start off week one even slower. We'll let them know, hey, day 1 and 2, we just want you to ride. And then day 3 and 4, we might let you use the radio and maybe the map. It sounds very petty, but it helps build that confidence in that new officer. So during phase 1, we have them do 10 traffic contacts. We don't care if they write warnings or citations or what. We just want to get their feet wet so they can see what it's like to make a traffic contact, what it's like to contact the citizen, and truly how to talk to the public without sounding like a robot. A lot of the academy, they teach you that, hey, everyone out there, you got to be cautious of. We soften them up a little bit in a good way to where they're ready to talk to the citizens like we expect them to be able to be pleasant, introduce themselves, and have a conversation. Once they finish phase 1, we pass them on to phase 2. At that point, we expect 50% of work out of them. So on an average call, if they can find their way to the call, they're able to talk to the people, establish whether a crime occurred or not, and use their resources to help that citizen out, whether it be a crime or a civil problem. That's about all we expect of them. Part of our phase 2, we put them with our traffic department. We want them to become even more familiar with traffic accidents and how to contact speeders, anything to do with a traffic violation. We get them very familiar with and how to use our track system, how to write citations and warnings. Phase 2 is huge and important, is massively important, I should say, for the field training program, because once they finish phase 2, every phase is built sometimes upon that contact with the public, that being able to conduct a traffic stop, whether that be for directed patrol, whether that be for an enforcement area, for high-speed crime, or what have you. After that, they will go to phase 3. Phase 3, we normally put them on graveyards. We want to get them accustomed to working at night to where they can use their flashlights. It sounds simple enough, but at night there's a different way they got to be able to utilize their lights. We want them to be able to know how to activate their overhead lights, their red and blue lights, and conduct themselves in a safe manner. Well, on phase 3, we expose them to sometimes their first DUI arrest, so driving under the influence. That's probably our highest number of DUIs, whether that be alcohol or drug related, is in the evening time to nighttime. So we'll put them on a shift starting at 9 o'clock and they're off at 7 o'clock in the morning. That allows them that exposure time to find that impaired driver, to conduct that DUI investigation and complete that report. At the end of phase 3, if the FTOs believe that they are ready for what we call phase 4, which is 100% the officer. It's one step before the solo status. So at phase 4, we let them go out on phase 4. They've already conducted their traffic stops. They've already done their DUIs. They've done numerous different calls. They've been exposed to a lot. So phase 4, we kind of step back. We shadow them. We're with them, but we expect them to be able to utilize their resources, take a call on their own, call other people on their squad if they need advice, make the decision to make an arrest, be able to fill out their reports on their own, their booking sheets on their own, and be able to find 2 what we call OV crimes, or on-view crimes. So as they're driving around, whether they can see someone who may be an impaired driver, or they make a traffic stop for a speeder, and while they're talking to the person, they develop reasonable suspicion or probable cause to believe that that person possesses something illegal like drugs. So if they're able to work through that and obtain consent or get a dog to alert on the vehicle and pull something illegal out of the vehicle, we would consider that an on-view crime. They witnessed it, they did their work to get in there, their legwork, and they're able to make an arrest. So we require 2 on-view crimes before they get off at phase 4. Once they've accomplished phases 1 through 4, they've done their 2 on-views, and we believe they're ready, we graduate them to a solo status with the understanding that they acknowledge that, hey, I'm still new. They understand that they're going to be put on a shift, that it is their responsibility, that if they have questions, they need to be able to reach out to their fellow officers, to their past FTOs, their corporal and their sergeant if need be. And by no means does it end after phase 4. There's sometimes 6 months, a year down the road. Not that we're helping them, but we're still their resource. And that's for years down the road.
Well, that's a lot. So that phase 1 to 4, what's that time frame look like?
We're approximately 14 weeks. Okay. Every now and then someone will have to get extended. It's not because they're doing horrible, it's because they may need more time focusing in one area.
That's awesome. And then about how many different field training officers would these new recruits be riding with during those 4 phases?
In a perfect world, they will ride with 4 different field training officers. life happens, so sometimes someone is sick and they'll get exposure to another field training officer, which is a good thing because they'll get to see another way of policing.
Right. Thank you. So, gentlemen, appreciate your time today. Really do appreciate what you're doing here for the department. Bringing a person that's in a polo shirt and slacks, walking down the street, going into an academy for 21 weeks, into a field training program for 14 weeks, and then coming out dressed as a police officer, full-fledged solo status. And then that's really when it just continues. The training never stops, right? It's going to go throughout the entire career.
Very
We know
true.
that. But you too, and the programs that we have here built in our community through Yavapai College at the NARTA, the Northern Arizona Regional Training Academy, our field training program, the San Jose model, is really the foundation for that initial training that sets our officers up for success so they can serve you in our community. So we're very fortunate here in Prescott Valley to have that opportunity. And again, thank you both for joining us today on Chiefs Chat to talk about the Police Academy and field training. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.